If you love entertainment, current events, and Hollywood, don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Hi everybody, my name is Larry May. Not much else to tell. We'll wing it and see what happens. We'll just see what flash of genius comes flying out.
Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to talk to you about your journey, your life, and all the amazing things that you're doing in your life. I love to going back to the beginning. I always say at the beginning, chart our trajectory in life, little habits we pick up along the way, follow us to our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about your childhood. What was that like? And, what was Larry when he was a child like?
Well, I'm going to start here and go backwards. Now I am an unmitigated loudmouth who's always got something really silly or stupid to say. But when I was a child, I was extremely shy and bashful. That comes
It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
It really is. And if you have known me then, I mean, seriously, you could look at me cross-eyed and I would cry. But my father was a guy who came back from Vietnam, really mean and liked to drink and hit. And it was almost a sadistic pleasure to watch him hurt others. And that was my childhood in a nutshell. I was scared of him as a child, but my problem started when I was in second grade. And I was always a really good reader. And I got tested in the second grade for reading. And I was reading on a college level in second grade.
Wow.
And from there, he just had it out for me. And it wasn't just verbal anymore. Then after that, it was just, we'll put it this way, my father was a brutal man with hard edges who gave no quarter. He asked for none. And he did everything through sheer willpower. And I could fill in the gaps from there. But specific things, and I could say the 70s were a different time.
Yeah.
Men were a lot more, they were a little rougher than they are now. And there's just not much other to tell than that he liked to drink and he liked to hit. And everybody at our house suffered the brunt of that.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's really unfortunate. But I mean, I'm sure like growing up, as an Army brat, right? You lived in so many places before you're a teenager. How did that, I don't know, that constant movement and exposure to different cultures shape your kind of perspective, on how you live?
I wouldn't trade it for anything, because we were all Army kids in a very, very small space. We had to learn to get along with each other, and we had to learn a lot about different cultures and different ways of living. And we were just very accepting of the way things were. And I wasn't as sheltered. And my best friend was a kid who lived across the hall, and he was an Asian kid, and they were Mormon, so we called him Norman the Mormon. And it was so stupid, but and then my other, and all my other friends were just a mixed bag of just different colors and different belief systems, and music was coming into my life then, which was so important for me to relate. Yeah. My dad had a soldier who lived across the hall from us in the stairwell. And he was a DJ, and he made me my first mixtape, and it had Prince, and it had the Gap Band and Sugar Hill Gang on it. So I was exposed to R&B at an early age, and I've just never gotten away from my love because of that one single Maxell cassette that guy gave me. I don't remember his name, but he was such a nice guy.
That's cool. That's really cool. So the love.
Well, we didn't have any other form of entertainment. We had one TV channel and one radio station. Air Force was one. And that's all you had. You just had, and it wasn't very good. I could turn on the TV there in Germany and watch Charlie's Angels in French, which did me no good. So I read a lot and I listened to a lot of music and stayed in my room and somehow turned both into a career. I really just did it to stay out of my dad's sight line.
Right,
And
right.
and somehow it manifested itself into doing two things that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And 15-year-old Larry would be thrilled with my life now.
Yeah, I mean that's incredible. Like you said, you spent part of your childhood in Europe, Germany and France and all those places. What are some of the customs or experiences from those that stuck with you the most?
When we would, well, we were right there on the French border, so we would go over and visit. And my parents had made friends with a French family, and we would go and stay with them sometimes. And
That's cool.
I learned some French from the two girls who were roughly mine and my brother's age. I had my first escargot there. But they taught us a lot about how more accepting and more loving they are than Americans were at the time. And it
Hmm.
was really nice to see people who were just really loving as a family. And
Yeah.
that was what I enjoyed about France. We went to England a couple of times. My dad would just give money to a cab driver. He'd say, "Drive the boys around." So it was around 1980, and we were in the back of a cab going to see Big Ben, and there was a movie theater that was almost like a block long, and the movie Flash Gordon had just came out, and the band Queen was on top of the
Yeah.
movie theater playing the Flash Gordon theme. That was
That's
my
awesome.
first live concert I ever saw for about 10 seconds, but that was just all kinds of stuff like that happening over there. They would have USO trips, and I met the guy who played Darth Vader when I was
That's
10 or
awesome.
11. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that they would do. There were a lot of benefits to being in the military.
Yeah.
Um, so I would, like I said, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. You could go to
Yeah.
Germany. You could go to. They are very big on keeping their castles up. You could go tour castles all day. They're very clean and well kept. The government paid for everything, and you could just go in and just rummage through castles all day, and that was always
Right.
really fun.
Right, right. I love that was a start, and it's only up from there, right?
Yeah, well, then my parents got a divorce, and I
Hmm.
moved back with my mother here to Alabama, where we lived before we went to Germany for 4 years. And after that, it was really not a lot to tell. It was just kind of getting through school and
Hmm.
working out some issues I had from a shitty childhood. Yeah,
But you still
I kind of came
overcame,
out
which
the other
is,
side.
yeah, you did, and I think that's amazing that you overcome those kind of, unfortunate, the obstacles, and I mean that happened to be your father, which is so unfortunate, but made you still did the things that you wanted to do, like music. You mentioned music. When you got to Alabama, how did you kind of start that that direction of music, and how did you get like acclimated into that and stuff?
I was that kid who was always listening to the radio, and I would listen to the radio, and I would play a cassette because we had cassettes then, and MTV had just came out, and we were all just blown away to get you see your favorite artists and new artists you'd never heard of on TV all day. So we were just immersed in music,
Yeah,
and we didn't have as much music as I do now, but it meant more to us. I think there was a lot more reverence paid because I do believe that we also had better artists back then. The
I
fact that I
agree.
walked the same earth as Michael Jackson and Prince and Stevie Wonder and Miles Davis is amazing.
It's
And I
it's
don't take that for
incredible.
granted.
It's incredible. And I think too, I think the creativity, right? The things that, people made back then versus now. I mean, you're the music king. Like, how do you feel the direction of music now opposed to back then is? And is it going
Back
in a better
then, there was
direction?
so much more attention paid to arts development.
Yeah,
And now you're done, and if it doesn't happen the first time, you just get chewed up and spit out. Um, but the barrier for entry is so low now. Anybody can do it, and that's awesome because anybody can do it. But at the same time, anybody can do it. Um,
that part.
so so and my son's a musician, and I watch him trying to break in, but at the same time, I'm trying to make sure he takes it slow and finishes college at the same time. And there are avenues. It's just cheaper, I guess. There's not as much artistry involved. It's, and I'm not going to name any specific apps or things that cheapen the experience, but I also believe back when the internet became the conduit for getting free music, people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize what they lost because when you say, well, I want free music, well, if you want free art, don't expect great art.
Mm. Interesting. That's good. That's
That
good.
is good. I like to say when I make a quote like that, Madison, that that's kind of like a sore dick. You can't beat it. So take that how you will. That could be a quote that you put in your biography. I don't know. Anyway,
Um, Also, I'm surprised that you've never actually ever like done stand up. Like you totally should. I think you're absolutely hilarious. That's maybe soon, one day after the book that you write.
I've had offers and I've had people that were willing to back me who had the money and the connections.
Yeah,
The biggest thing is I'm very happy doing what I'm doing now.
I love that.
And it seemed and at 56, I see no reason to start something new.
I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah.
You mentioned questioning some of the traditions and commonplace things about Southern culture. What were some of the things that you pushed back against?
I'll tell you first what I like. I love Southern people because they are the best storytellers.
Yeah.
They are so funny in the way they tell things and the way that they present a story. And a lot of my favorite writers are Southern writers,
Hmm.
and that is what I grew up watching and listening to a lot of characters, and they're everywhere here, and everybody's got a story to tell. And if you've lived in the South for a while, you'll know what I mean. There's a certain cadence and a certain rhythm to telling a story, and they're just hilarious. Some of the things I could do without were some of the lingering attitudes about race, et cetera, et
Mm.
cetera. And those are the things that I think we still need to work on. And I think we've taken a step back maybe since the 90s.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I've seen it. It was a lot better, and recently it's not as good as it used to be, and
Mm.
I find that disheartening.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And that's but I'm trying to take the good with the bad. The dichotomy of everything is what kind of makes the world go round.
Right. That's true.
But so I've moved off a couple of times away from Alabama. I've always
Hmm.
came back because it's home. For all its
Right.
faults, Anniston is home.
Yeah. I totally get it. And how is the music scene in Alabama? Or is there any music scene in Alabama?
It is alive and well. We've got so much homegrown talent that
Yeah.
is exploding on a national stage. St. Paul and the Broken Bones, Alabama Shakes, Yellow Wolf, Riley Green, a big country artist.
Riley
He's
Green, yeah.
from right here in our hometown. And I actually got him to open one of my shows. I used to promote a concert series here in town. And I
Nice.
had Marshall Tucker come to town, and Riley Green opened up for him.
That's awesome.
So I'm gonna say maybe I gave him his first shot. But we hired him for another thing at the museum we were doing, and yeah, and Jamie Johnson, he's another guy that went to Jack State. Randy Owen from Alabama, he went to
Nice.
Jack State, and they're opening a big performing arts center there on campus that's named after him. And
Awesome.
another thing, he's not homegrown, but Cat Williams has just bought some buildings and land at the fort, and there's going to be some big things coming from that, from what I hear.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
That's exciting. I love that. And I hope it brings, the changes that, you want to see, right? The
of course.
bringing people together versus, separate. So that's what it's really all
Yeah.
about, I believe. But I have a question, and I love asking this question, and there is no wrong answer, I promise. But the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. And if you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Influence, because what I've learned in the music business, if you know a certain person, power and money can be found pretty easily. But there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that you can do with a phone call that you can't do with a checkbook.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So there's that. So I like those three things. You didn't mention dude wipes. I think that's really important too.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great answer. It's a great
What,
answer.
dude wipes? Of course.
No.
Can you imagine being in the room when they created that? They're like, hey, let's just get something for just men that like a little more attention. They want to feel pretty too. So let's give them something to wipe their ass with. That's great.
You met your wife at 17,
I
which is
did.
so amazing. And
She's a very
clearly
lucky woman. We
she
started going out when I was 17. We were 17, and then we got married when we were 21. I got
wow.
tired of listening to her beg. It was shameful the way she would hang off the car when I would try and leave. And I said, let me just go ahead and wife her up and just put her out of her misery.
What
So I've
was
been married for 33 years.
that's incredible. What would you say is the key to a healthy marriage?
We don't put boundaries on each other. We don't. There's no power play. There's no you can do this and you can't do that. It's just very. I don't know. It's built on trust, but it's also built on letting the other person breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best thing I could say. I can't say that I've ever had it that hard because I see a lot of guys that have had bad relationships. She's just made it incredibly easy for me. I've never had to work that hard at it. She's just the best way I can put it, and it's the most sincere compliment I can give her. She's just good.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
beautiful. That's a
yeah.
great answer.
She's the backbone of our family, and we all know it. It
Oh,
doesn't run without Tenza.
oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Well,
CDs,
it
huh?
was all a lie, but no, no,
Right.
she's fantastic. I would say she is my secret weapon. And
Oh,
if you don't have a Tenza in your life, go get one.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. CD Cellar has been around since 1997, which is a
Mhm.
huge accomplishment in the music retail world. What inspired you and your wife to open the store, and how has it evolved over the years?
It wasn't actually even going to be my store to begin with. I was a district manager for a jewelry store company, and I had worked in record stores on the side, and I was kind of the music guy. And a couple of friends approached me about opening one and running it, and they backed out. And I said, "Well, I've got good credit, so I'll just give it a wing and see what happens." And it's changed a lot. When we first opened up, it was gangbusters and it was easy.
Yeah.
Around '07, '08, when the internet crashed the music business, that was tough. We went from being the coolest guys in town to being the most pitied. Now we're kind
Hmm.
of back to being the coolest ones and that's all kids that love records and they love CDs again, which is shocking. That's only happened in the last 6 months. It's something tangible you can hold in your hand, and they love that. It's actually a CD is considered vintage now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, which
So
is crazy, right?
mhm. But as long as
So
they're
cool.
listening to music and they're also figuring out that if you stream, you don't own anything. You're just paying to access someone else's collection. And there's something
That
that
part.
speaks to ownership, and
Mhm.
it gives you a better relationship with the artist, and
Yeah.
you can see what the artist meant with the liner notes and the artwork, and because most albums are a work of art, from the way they sequence the songs down to the photos on the front of it and the music inside.
That's so cool. That's so cool. If we've lost a lot of music legends over the years.
And we're not
You
replacing
know,
them.
right. What it like what if what music legend was like the hardest, like in the last, like I'd say 10 years,
To
15.
lose,
Yeah, to lose. And that was like devastating for you. And you're
without
like,
a doubt,
wow.
Prince. Without a doubt,
Yeah,
Prince. Because a lot of people throw around the word genius.
yeah.
He truly was a genius. And as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, there's some really great musicians still left. There's only one genius left, and his name's Stevie Wonder.
Ooh,
If when
yeah.
something happens to Stevie, it will destroy me.
Mm, yeah.
But Prince
Do you
was
feel
the
like,
big one. That was rough on me.
yeah, and just how he died was just so crazy. It was just the weirdest.
Well, he was a weird guy. Um,
Yes.
you just got to say it. But that's part of what made him so great. He was so enigmatic, and he marched to his own drum, and I love that about him.
Yeah.
It brings to mind, and the best way I can relate to it is Kurt Cobain had a quote that says, "People laugh at me because I'm different." He said, "And I laugh at them because they're all the same."
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I was with Prince. If you take just the year 1984, when he put out Purple Rain, he had a number one movie, he had a number one soundtrack, and he was writing songs for all of his other artists. And the guy was just so prolific, and every
Yeah.
bit of it was quality. There was great stuff that he threw away because he said it sounded too much like everything else.
I was like,
The
wow,
stuff that he
how?
threw away, I'd love to hear it sometime.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. That would be so cool to like if they could. But then again, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. When some artists go and they pass on, you see some of the big like studios will like come out with a new song. Like when I saw Michael Jackson's new song with Justin Timberlake, I was like, but he's dead. How did they make music off of him? And they're
Yeah.
still making music off of him, which is crazy.
Yeah, I get the idea behind releasing the music so people can hear it, but just sticking somebody else on there, I agree that was a bad move.
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
love Justin Timberlake's music, but and at the time he was very popular, but I just don't agree with it. But I don't think Sony's going to call me and ask me what I think anyway.
Do you feel like it's better? Like, there's a lot of artists, there's a lot of people that are doing the music thing and they notice, yes, the indie way is actually probably better in the long run. And you might save a lot more money in your pockets versus, well, you're gonna spend money, but you'll see more money later on. But you hear the people say, when I want to be signed to a big label, which I get because you don't have to do the work. They'll basically do all the work and get all the things going. But now we see a lot of artists and people moving into the indie route, which is very exciting. And also I think it brings a lot of I don't know, room for creativity. Um
You know, as far as like record labels doing all the work, they used to. Now you've got to do
mm,
all of it yourself before they'll even take you on. And it's kind of like the old adage where they say, you know what, I'll make you famous and I'll make me rich. And
right.
that's the music business in a nutshell. Um, and if you can do it yourself, that would be the better route.
Yeah.
The best example of that lately, I think, is Ethel Kane. She's doing a fantastic job of doing everything herself and just using AWALT for a distribution arm and has made it
Wow.
totally on her own. It's
That's beautiful.
fantastic.
That's beautiful. Yeah, speaking of that, your son has followed in your footsteps musically. So what has been
Except he can
like
play music.
right. He's amazing. What's
Yeah.
been, what has it been like to watch him grow, as both the musician and a student?
It's it's funny because when he was a child, he was a lot like me. He was very bashful, very shy, and he still is to a degree, unless you put him on a stage in front of a microphone, then he turns into a big ham. But he just loves music so much, and he wants so badly to be the guy that's doing everything. And I think that
I
may
love that.
come from our love for Prince at the house. Prince recorded everything. He played every instrument. He mixed
Yeah,
it. He mastered it. And that's what Andrew's kind of doing too. So I see him
that's
at 2 o'clock
beautiful.
in the morning playing. When he's
Wow.
got class at 9, he's still up playing and doodling. And I watched him as a kid walk from the from his bedroom to the kitchen with a guitar in his hand. He's just always been obsessed with it, and kind of like Michael Jordan shooting layups in the rain. He did it because he loved it, and now it's
Yeah,
starting to bear some fruit.
that's beautiful. I love that. And he's so good. He's so talented.
He's fantastic, and that's not just proud dad stuff. I've been around live musicians for 28 years now. I've promoted shows. I've seen tons of shows, and I'm not just saying, well, Andrew's got it because I'm his dad. I would say he had it if I had just met him yesterday.
I love that. That's awesome. You know, you've written music for more than, a decade, right? Interviewing
Hmm.
national touring artists.
I have.
What's been one of the most memorable conversations, and what do you think makes a truly great interview?
Last year, well, we'll put it this way. There's a couple things to know about me. I care way too much about the Los Angeles Chargers. I care way too much about Toad the Wet Sprocket. I love Batman. I love Michael Myers. But that's leading to this. I've interviewed Toad the Wet Sprocket every year for the last 5 years. And I had the best time talking with the singer last year and talking about because his journey as an artist started about the same time as mine after getting out of high school and getting into music and taking it through those songs, being my friends through college, through marriage, through having a child. And we were two guys roughly a year apart in age talking about being in your 50s and how you're running out of time
Mm,
and how you've got to make the best of the time you have. And for me to have one of my favorite artists of all time have this really frank conversation, it meant so much to me to be able to talk to Glenn for about 10 minutes in an interview. And it was really not even part of the interview, it was just two guys with similar ages talking about their lives and mistakes they'd made and things they'd done right. And it was very, very important to me. And I will treasure that for as long as I live.
that's beautiful. I love that. I do. I love that a
You
lot.
know, you know, Morgan, you should love that.
I'm Morgan now. I love
Morgan, yeah.
it. You're
You,
so funny.
last weekend you were brioche and
Brioche.
yeah and
That I've never heard that name before. That's a new one. I was like, that one's for
Ki-
the book.
Kioki,
Yoki.
Boyardee, all that stuff. So we'll find you more names as it goes along.
For sure, for sure. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. You know, looking back on your journey from being a kid traveling the world and running music stores, starting festivals, raising a family, what do you feel has been your true calling throughout everything, through it all?
Now that I've done those things, now it's time for me at my age to take everything that I've learned and pass it down to younger people. And
Beautiful.
there's an old saying, "Don't be the king, be the king maker." And that's where my head is. That's where my interest lies, is in taking people that I think have talent and have drive and ambition, and just helping them and nudging them and kind of keeping them between the lines and helping them as much as I can. Because at this point, it's a young man's game, and it's just fun for me to watch others. And I'm not just saying that; I really do believe that. And it's from all the people that have worked here at the store. We've created dozens of jobs for people. We've had musicians walk through the door. We've gotten people jobs with record labels. We've done a lot of that kind of thing. And we've gotten concerts downtown with big name artists. Going back to my Prince connection, when we brought Morris Day in the time, there were kids out there playing on the playground and meeting each other, and they had never seen a live show before. But they got to see a
Wow.
world level talent for free in their own town. And for me, again, 15-year-old Larry would have been thrilled to be able to do that. So that's
That's
what it
beautiful.
is for me. I just want to see if anything I've learned I can pass down and help somebody get where they're going.
Absolutely. And you're doing just
Like
that.
you, Meosha. I think that's how you
Thank
say that.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I try. I
Kosha.
try.
Yeah,
I
but yeah,
try.
I know you look up to me as a father figure and an icon,
Yes,
a titan of industry, and I just want you to know that I'm here for you. We don't have
thank
a
you.
lot to work with, but we're gonna make chicken salad out of you, young lady.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
You're
Well,
welcome for
thank
that.
you. Thank
Well, that's
you.
what I do.
Uh, now you say, now it's your time. And I love that because, you're so talented. And I got
Debatable.
to I got to hear a little snippet of something you're writing. Tell me a little bit about that and that, like, if you're okay with telling us a little bit, sharing that journey and where that comes about. And I'm very excited for you to talk about that.
After writing for the local paper for years and just writing about music, I wanted to try something that was going to tell my story from childhood on up and incorporate some of my own things and kind of pay homage to the writers that I really love, Southern writers. Like I love Faulkner. Uh, I love Hemingway. He's not Southern, but I'm just saying. But my favorite writers are like a guy from Oxford, Mississippi named Larry Brown, who's fantastic. A guy named Frank Bill. He writes great books still. We have one of the best writers that I've ever read anything from. It's a guy named Rick Bragg who used to write for the Anniston Star. Now he's a professor at the University of Alabama that teaches writing, um, and try and use their style and relate it to my experiences in a fiction kind of way and make it as dark as I can because
I love that.
I love horror, I love scary, I love thriller, I love psychological, anything like that. I just love really dark horror filled stuff.
I love that. What's your process like when you're writing? Like, I mean, how do you get in the zone? Like, do you, because I mean, you hear about the writer's block, which, some say it exists, some say it doesn't. It's debatable.
It usually starts with a phrase or like a turn of words that I think, and then I'll email myself really fast. And once I get that one phrase, I can build paragraphs off of that.
Nice.
And then from there it just kind of grows. Um, but I don't, as far as writer's block, I've never had it because I don't spend a ton of time at it. I should spend more time. But the old saying, if you're going to be a writer, is put your ass in the chair. I do a very bad job of that. Um, but I can write in big chunks, and that's how I do it. So I just, if I get like a something that I feel like is really clever, then I'll start from there, and then I can just spend hours and hours just writing until I just vomit it all out, and then that's how it goes.
That's awesome. I used to hate writing growing up. I mean, when I got into film and when I finished film school, like I was just like, people say you got to write your own stuff, make your own movies. And what I would do was just like, I have ideas and I would draw them out, do like storyboard form. But I know what I'm saying, but the actors didn't know exactly, you know what I mean? So then I took a writer's class and I mean, with some skill writers, and I was like, wow, there's so much that goes into this. I felt like not worthy to even be a part of it, but I learned so much. And we wrote an anthology, like 12 writers, and we kind of that was the hardest thing in my life to do because it was like keeping like continuing the story, but like one of the characters from two stories back is in my story, and then it just keeps going. But we never actually finished. Well, we finished a script, but we never actually made it into a movie yet. So hopefully we'll do that. But I commend writers. So you make it seem
That's
so
great.
easy. When I read your
Oh
stuff, I was like,
no,
wow.
it's the way I write is incredibly lazy. I mean, when I write stuff for the newspaper, I've usually got a deadline because it's artists that are touring in town, and I have to make sure that there's enough time for people to read it,
Yeah,
absorb that they're coming, and and tell them about the music or the artist, and that is what I'm forced to do. But if it's just me myself, like I said, I'll do it in big chunks, and that's the only way I know to describe it.
I love that. I
And
love that.
I'll jump from chapter to chapter, and somewhere along the line, I'm going to sew all this together into something that looks like a cohesive thought.
That's awesome. Um, We have only 2 minutes left, but where can people find you and follow everything you have going on to just to get to know what you have coming down the pipeline?
I don't really have any social media for myself. All of my social media is my store, and it's
Okay.
anything CD Cellar
Okay.
related. You can find me on CD Cellar's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. I think those are the main ones,
Okay.
but I don't really post too much there. Um, I want to start a YouTube channel, and hopefully somebody is going to help me do that. And
Yes. I
and I'm
can't wait
looking
for you
forward
to
to
start
doing
it.
that. I'm looking
Yes.
forward to doing that, and because I've got tons of content that I don't know how to tie it together, and I
Okay.
don't know the process and things I need to use technologically. But once I get that, I think I should be able to take more of just what I do um, in the capacity of running the store and being consumed by music all day long
Yeah.
and writing and talking to different artists. And you get to hear, I'll play some of the interviews I've got, and I've got some really good stuff that I think people would love to hear.
I'm
And just my
excited.
special brand of West Virginia hillbilly uh, corn pone humor that I was born with. So, yeah, I plan to get that going up and soon, pretty fast. I hope.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'm ready to help as much as I can. So thank you for coming on and sharing
Yeah, that'd be
your
great. I
story with
appreciate it so
me.
much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you all for listening, and always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.